What happens if you retire at, say, 60 and you stop working? What happens to your Social Security then? Because you're not adding any more to it in terms of your average index monthly earnings. We're going to run the numbers for you here by special request from one of my subscribers. I am excited to do this one. It's something I've been wanting to do for quite some time now. And I just said, I appreciate that. I forgot who it was who asked me on my YouTube channel to do a video on that. So this is going to be exciting. So thanks for coming on board, my friends, to the Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel, the place where you come to learn all you can about Social Security, Medicare, financial planning, retirement planning, estate planning, blah, blah, blah. Lots of stuff on financial planning. So welcome aboard. Don't forget to subscribe down below. Subscribe. All right, let's dive right into this now. So remember how Social Security works, my friends. There's something called Average Indexed Monthly Earnings, AIME. All right, now how you derive your average indexed monthly earnings is Social Security. I'll show you my example. This is straight from Social Security's website. They're going to take your top 35 years of earnings. They're going to inflate them, and then they're going to add them all together. All right, and then they're going to divide by 420. So I'll just show you what I'm talking about. Let me move myself out of the way here. All right, so here's directly from Social Security. They're saying in 1978, you made $9,870. Our indexed for that, or inflation, or inflator, whatever it is, 4.608. So we times those two together, we get 45,000, roughly 500. And we do that each and every year, all right, until you finish this up. And so essentially what happens is we're going to take the top 35 years. In this case, it's 46,196 in years 1983. We're going to add, well, I'll just actually show you. We're just going to add all these together. We're going to sum these puppies up. Now I can move myself out of the way again, always in the way. All right, so we're going to sum these guys up. All right. And then what we're going to, so all right, here we go. Hold on just a second. All right, so let's bring this up. Keep going. We're going to sum them up. All right there. Krakow. And then we're going to come down. And we're going to come down. And there we go. So we get 1,705,059 is not our average index monthly earnings. It's our average index total earnings. And they don't say this, but AITE, I guess what you'd say. All right, so then we take this number and we divide by 420 because 35 years times 12 is 420. And 420. And that will give us an AIME. Oh, what happened? I did a formula wrong. Oops, instead of a question mark, I need to do a there. Did I get it right? Yeah. All right, so now we're going to have our AIME of 4,059. That's going to be our average index monthly earnings, okay? So again, we take your how much you made in 1978, 1979. We have an inflator, an index, if you will, that Social Security tells us. We already know what it is. Times that by that, and that gives us that. We do that for every single year you worked, and then we take your top 35, we add them together, and then we divide by 420, and that's your AIME. Now, just remember, your AIME is absolutely not your retirement benefit. That's your PIA, your primary insurance amount. So your PIA is a portion of your AIME. All right, so we're not. That doesn't give us this right here is not what we're going to have for Social Security benefit. It's not. All right, so now. Well, while I'm yapping on it, I'll tell you exactly. I don't have my trusty calc. Yeah, I do. Hold on just a second. So in this case, we have an AIME of $4,059. We'll just say $4,060. We take the first $895 and we come over here. First $895, and that gives us $805. And then we take, $4,060 minus $895, and we take the next $3,165, and that gives us $1,012 because we times that by 32%. So the first $895 we times by 90%. The next amount of money we times by 32%. If we had any more, if we had above $53.97, we times that by 15. So for this person, an AIME of $4,059 would give her a monthly benefit of $1,818 at her primary insurance amount. All right. So let me show you something. This is going to be interesting because what I did is I wonder if I can bring it up here. I hope you can see it. This is my earnings record I just pulled my Social Security statement because I get it every year offline. And in 1984, I was 14 years old. I was washing dishes someplace. All right. So that's my tax earnings. 1985 and 1986, I remember 1985, I was picking strawberries in Maine, so I was all under the table, so I didn't pay any. I don't even was cash. Let's put it that way. I didn't pay any Social Security. In 1987, I was washing dishes and cooking crabs, and then I did that into 1988, and then I went in the Army. All right, so this is my high school years essentially when I was, basically doing grunt work, newspaper. I mean, I've always worked. Anything I can do to get money, I've always done. I've enjoyed it. Well, I've enjoyed it, but I like having a little bit of money. In 1988, I did, like I said, still working crab house, cooking crabs for people, which is a good job. And I enjoyed it, but obviously that's $3,000 ain't much. But then in 1989, I went in the Army. So in 1989, I had earnings of $7,800. 1990, still in the Army. 1991, still in the Army. Then February 92, I got out of the Army and I started working at UPS. I started going down I did all kinds of jobs while I was in college. Actually, I started college in August of 92. I was working at UPS loaded trucks at night. And then, and that was a tough job. And then when I started school, I think I quit that. I forgot what I was doing. I was like selling. I took a couple ladies and we'd go to these restaurants or these bars all over DC and then out in the sticks. And we try to get people to give out samples of cigarettes. The urban area, we give out Newports, and the redneck area, out in the sticks area, we give out Marlboro Reds. It's kind of funny how that worked. And we'd go down to it was an interesting job. I had a car full of cigarettes, two young ladies with me, and it was interesting. Let's just put it that way. We did that for a while. And I think that's right around the time they banned cigarette advertising, so we couldn't do it anymore. 93, I remember, I think I was security guard in 93, if I recall. Then I started working in a bar and doing that. So and then I graduated college. So first year out of when I graduated college in 97, I was working at a bar. And then as an administrative assistant in Alexandria, Virginia, horrible job. I hated it, but it paid me more money than I was making taxable, if you know what I'm saying, at the bar. And then in 97, I got my first job at Vanguard. So these are my earnings record. Now I'm 48 years old, so this obviously won't be applicable to you because I'm looking at somebody who's 60. So let's go back to the table here. And what I've done is I just said, well, let's just use me for an example. And I took my income that I had and I used the inflator that Social Security provides us. All right. So I have 1978, I was 8 years old and I wasn't making any money. I was doing newspaper routes, but I think that was all cash money in 1980 and 81, 82. Anyway, so I took my first year of earnings. I have $156. I inflated by 3.01, and that's my earnings, my index earnings right there. All right. So then you can see the 90, so you can see what I've done. So now what I did is instead of showing my actual earnings, when I started actually having a real job, this is when I was working at Vanguard. But here I just said, okay, let's just say I made $30,000 a year. 31, I just adjusted each and every year for $1,000. Now this isn't me truly, but let's just say it was a $30,099. So this was my actual earnings at Vanguard. We'll just say that was my actual earnings. And then every year I added $1,000 adjustment. All right, so that's what I've done here. And as you can see, the inflator there is no inflation once you hit in 2016 and 17, they don't give you any inflation. I think it's once you hit 60, they stop inflating your earnings record. Okay. So they don't give you inflation there. I just said, and here I have 47,000 and here I had 48,000. So what I do here then is I take all these years. Now remember these years I had nothing. I had a bunch of goose eggs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 goose eggs and basically 9 goose eggs. So basically of my 35 years, I had 4 goose eggs. So I only have 1 and then 10. I have, 30, that'd be 29. I only have 30 years of actual earnings record here. All right. So I have zeros across the board to beginning with. And then, so because these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these aren't counted. These are wiped off the mat because there's nothing there. They take your top 35, but my top 35 still leaves 3 zeros. And then basically this is a 0 too. In fact, these 2 are basically zeros. I hope that makes sense. So at the end of the day, this is really real world numbers here. If you had no income, you have no Social Security payment, which means you're not going to add any of that money to your average total indexed amount. All right, so let's just say this is me, and we tally all that. I got 1.164 million I've made over my indexed life. Divide that by 420, and that gives me my AIME of 2072. So now we take 2,772 as my average index monthly earnings, and we say, okay, 2,772, and we're going to subtract. And I could have done a calculator for this. I just didn't feel like it. Minus 890, because I want to get this video off as quick as I can. So then we have 1,877 in this amount, and my PIA is this, right? Let me just get rid of that. Oh no, that's right. So my PIA is 1406. All right, so I have 1406 as my monthly benefit. Remember, PIA is at full retirement age. All right, so far so good. All right, so now let's do something different. All right, so I'm going to say, now I'm taking a 60-year-old guy. I'm going to say he made 20,000 this year, 21,000. All right, so we're just going to go up. We're going to say he made 20, and he's going to make it, all right, let's just say right there, 90. We're going to say until about this year right here. Okay, there we go. It already gives us a thing. So here, I'm just going to roll this down. We're just going to use this for an example. Let's say he started when he was young, making 20. All right. So now, look at that. Look at the difference. So this guy started when he was, if he's 60 years old today, that means 2018 minus 60. He was born in 1958. So when he was 20 years old, all right, he was 20 years old in his first year. Yeah, right there, 20. He started making $20,000 just digging ditches for the county. We'll just say he's digging ditches for the county, and he dug ditches for the county all the way up until until 2018 when he retired. So now he's got 40 years, but we don't want 40 years. We only want the top 35. So we're going to look over here, and we're going to delete these ones right here because these are not the top 35. Looks like that one right. Yeah. So we're going to say basically, because his early earnings record was 92,000 and when he was 20 years old, 20,000 back then equals 92,000 today. Maybe we can do something different. Let's do this. Let's do 10,000. Let's do that instead. Let's see how that changes everything. And we'll do 11,000. And there's a method to my madness here, my friends. Just hang with me just a little bit. All right. So now we're going to go down to here and let's see what we come up with. Yeah. Okay, good. That's better. All right. So here we got, so he made $10,000 in 1978, which is the equivalent of $46,000 today. And as you can see, his numbers roughly stay right around the right around the $48,000 the whole time. So what we do now is we just simply take this top 35. Let's see where this goes to N4. And we want to take this. We're just going to take, for simplicity, we're just going to take the last 5 years. All right, so we're going to sum all these guys. Watch, just bear with me just a second. We're going to sum all these guys, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want to go to number 6. 2, 3, 4, 1. There we go. All right, cool. I think that's it. So we're going to take, let's just make sure that's right, to N45, and we want to go. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. All right, so we took the last 35 years essentially of his working life, all right? And so now his total index earnings is $1,736, which gives him an AIME of 4135. We go down here, we simply take 4134, subtract 895, and that leaves this right here at 3239. All right, and so that gives us 3239. That gives us a PIA of 1841 because we take the first 895, we times it by 90%, it gives us 8055. We take the next amount up until 5,500 or something like that, which he doesn't have, and we times that by 32%, which gives us 1036. And so his PIA here is 1841. And again, the PIA is the amount he takes at full retirement age. We'll just say 66. All right, so far so good. Now let's do this though. I'm going to give you a little bit of I'm going to throw you a curveball here. You ready? So we're going to say he made 2,500 his first year, 2,800 his next year. I keep doing that. 3,000 his next year. And we'll say 3,500 this year. And then is that 5 years? No, and 4,000 this year. Okay. Now, so what we've done here, that won't change anything, all right? Because we basically said instead of making 20,000 or 10,000 when he was right out of high school digging ditches for the county, maybe he's waiting table or something, made 2,500, which is the equivalent of 11,000 this year. Maybe he's going to call it something like that. It doesn't matter because these numbers are well below what his top 35 are. So these won't be included at all, not at all. Hope that makes sense because these numbers, even though he made it, are just wiped off the mat. He did not, that does not go into his AIME simply because they only take the top 35 years. So the 11,000 is well below essentially his average, which is roughly 48,000. Not going to use that. But watch. All right. So now we go down. Everything should be the same. It is. Everything's the same as it was before because we don't use those 5 years that because of his lowest years. Now watch though. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to say he's 60. And so we're going to say, that's 66. So we're going to say 60, or we're going to say his last 5 years, he didn't make anything. All right, watch this. It's going to change everything. Oops, that's a 0. I meant to put a 0 there. All right, there we go. So that changes everything. So the last 5 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he didn't make anything. In fact, we can even say here, because 6 years. All right, so we're going to say he made nothing for his last 6 years because he's 60 years old now. He's retiring. And that means from 60, 61, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 66, 6 years, he has no contributions to put in Social Security. So these numbers right here are going to go to 0. But what that does mean is we got to add these numbers in there. All right. So now we got to change this whole thing around because now we got to replace these zeros with these numbers right here. All right. So now now watch. Before we do that though, let's just say he made no money. Let's just say we're not even using those numbers. His total indexed earnings dropped to 1,446,000. His AIME dropped to 3,444. So now what we do is we take 3,444. 3,444 minus 895, and that gives us 2,549. So remember, he had 1841 before. Now he's got 16. Let me write that down. He had 1841 before. Now he's got 1621. So not working those extra 6 years, it only dropped his account by $220 a month. 6 extra years of not working just dropped his amount by $221 a month. But we've got to do something else. We've actually got to add these years, which were initially wiped off the mat because they were the lowest years. And right now they're not being accounted for. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come back here. We're going to take this guy, crack out there, and we're going to sum this entirety to gain those extra 5 years. And listen, I have no idea what's going to show. It'd be interesting to find out. So that's why I'm excited to do this. All right. So now we have 1,507 or 1.5 million is his total indexed earnings, and an AIME of 3,589. So we take 3,589 minus 895, 2,694 here. So basically next are $150. I can tell you it's going to be $32 a month different. 694. And that would be, 1667. So as you can tell, not a huge difference for those years of earnings that didn't happen when he's 60 to 66. I'm just curious. Let's say though, we'll say the last 5 years he made, we'll say 100,000. All right, we'll say 102. 102, 105. 105. Let's just see what this looks like. 110, and then 112. All right. So again, now he's making pretty good money the last few years. He got promoted supervisor or something like that, and that's not going to work because that's about right. That's about right. That's about right. So we're just going to say it might be a little bit too high, but it won't be much. It won't be a huge amount. This might not be exact to the dollar amount. That might be a little bit too high there. And let's just say this. We'll say 102. We'll just keep saying 100, 103. 104 and then 105. Yeah, it's probably closer to being right. That might be a couple bucks too high, but I don't know. All right, so now we're saying at the end of the day, again, he started with his waiting tables. He got a job with the county digging ditches, blah, blah, blah. And then he was promoted to supervisor here. So his last 5 years, he made over six figures, which when he indexed is pretty good money. And then he said, I'm done with this. I got my pension. I'm retiring at 60 years old, so I got nothing right here. So now his total index earnings is $1.87 million. His AIME is 4453. So now we say 4453 minus 895. 3558 is what goes here. 3558. And that gives us a PIA of 1944. And that's how it works. So to retire these last few years doesn't really, you're talking about a difference in a couple $100 a month. That's it. It's real money. Don't get me wrong. A couple $100 a month on your AIME or your PIA, your primary insurance amount that you get at your full retirement age. Now, let's just say he kept working these last couple of years. We'll show you the difference. This work will show you a big deal. We'll say 106, and we'll just kind of go down here. Watch this. Boink. And we're going to come down here. And now look at that. Just those extra couple of years. So basically what we've done, wait. We've got to wipe out those 5 at the beginning of his career. So we just got to sum these guys up to when he was right there. All right, there we go. We got to wipe out those last 5. So his PI, his total indexed earnings is basically 2.5 million. His AIME is 5919. So now we're actually going to get into the threshold down here, 59. So we take 5919 minus 895, 5024. What is it, Ben right here? 5. No, okay, we don't go there. So he's still right here. All right, so 5024. And so now he's got a PIA of 2413. So that's a big difference there. So my friends, this is where it comes to retiring at 60. If that's the peak earnings that you have, you might not want to do it. Now, if you have a pension or something, that's different. Because a pension, we're talking a difference between 5. Let's just say if you retire, let's say this guy's name's Mike. So Mike says, look, Josh, I'm thinking about retiring at 60 and I'm not going to work the next 6 years. I'm going to draw my Social Security at my full retirement age at 66. And I said, Mike, how much you make? And he says, well, 106, 107, 108. And I said, yeah, that could add a lot of money to your Social Security if you were to keep working there. But then he said, but I got a pension that's going to pay me $3,000 a month. And so I said, okay. So now you got a pension that's going to kick in at $3,000 a month. And by you retiring, you're only going to lose $500 a month in Social Security. And that's the money that you're not going to get until you're 66 anyway. And you don't have to work in some crappy old job or whatever, or, back-breaking, digging ditches. That'd be valuable to me to tell him, just hang it up for sure. Now, if he says, I don't have a pension, and I don't mind my job so much, I'd probably say, yeah, you probably ought to keep at it because that extra $500 a month could go a long, long way to your security in retirement. If you're 60 years old with a pension and you're thinking about retirement, even if you leave these big number earning years on the side, I don't think it's going to kill you. I'd absolutely make that recommendation to think about it. I can't say you should do it without knowing your circumstance. I just don't know. But you're looking at roughly, let's just say $500 a month. And again, folks, this is not specific to you. Do not hold me accountable for your own stuff. You got to look at that a little bit different. But you're looking at $500 a month in this circumstance I just ran. That's again 6 years later. You're not getting this money until you're 66 anyway. If you get it now, it's going to be well reducible, well below this PIA amount. You're just not getting it for another 6 years. So you say, I'm going to work my tail off, digging ditches, back-breaking work for another 6 years, in which I can gain $500 a month after that because I stayed working. That's $6,000 a year. Your labor is worth more than $6,000 a year, and you got to look at it like that. If I keep digging ditches, I'm going to net $6,000 a year, but it's going to cost me 2,080 hours of my labor to do that. Never mind the time it takes to get on my outfit, to take a shower, to go down to work, to get the. I don't see a value there. You're talking $6,000 a month, a year, more to continue working for an extra 6 years in some crappy old job. I just don't see the value there at all. I mean, you could do this. YouTube channels get $6,000 a year. I don't know. I mean, you just got to keep doing stuff, doing it. But you could absolutely. You could go raise tomatoes out back and sell them organic, whatever you want to do. All kinds of stuff you can do with your labor that generate more than $6,000 a year. I just don't see the value there. Again, if you don't have a pension, and let's say Social Security, like me, is what you're relying on, there might be a big value. And again, if you like your job, then that's not much of a labor loss either because you like it. But if you hate it and you have a pension, hang it up and be done with it, the way I look at it. Even though you're sacrificing these more of a high earnings years. Now, I will say you got to look at these numbers too, because let's just say your high earning years are here, all right, in the front end. These numbers right here, let's just say you got laid off and now you're, I don't know, waiting tables at the, whatever it's called, Cadoba, I mean, whatever. You're not adding to your folks, you're not adding to your Social Security if you're in some job right now that pays you a third of what your average index yearly earnings were. You're not adding anything. Now, you might be doing it for health insurance. That's a completely different scenario. But if you're working in a job that pays you well less than what your average years were, and you just look at them, you just run the numbers, see what they are, then you should stop because you're not adding to your Social Security benefits. So say, I'm going to work until I'm 66 so I can add to my Social Security benefits. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't. Now, again, if your earnings benefits were zero in a bunch of years, yes, it would, because every dollar you add to it will add something for sure. So if, like I showed you in another video, like, my wife stays home, so she has a bunch of zeros in here. Every year she works will add to it, but is it going to add enough to make it worth the time and effort? I don't know. You'd have to make that decision on your own. But, for someone to say, I got to work to add to my Social Security, and then we look and his top 35 earning years are X and he's only making Y, which is significantly lower than X, he is not adding to his numbers. He's not. It's not there. And so because of that, there's no reason to go work in Social Security or to work some crappy old job in order to add to Social Security because it's not happening. You got to understand that. I know there's a lot to go on that, and it's a confusing thing for sure, but it's where you got to play the numbers. And so whatever the guy's name was who asked me to do this, he said, hey, what if I retire at 60 and stop working? What does that do to my Social Security? I think it really is contingent on what your numbers were on the front end of your earnings record. If your numbers back then were higher than what you're going to make going forward, it's just not worth it. It's not, unless you need the health insurance. And again, then I get it. If your numbers are a bunch of zeros and you can add something, anything, 32,000 replaces zeros, it could be worth it for sure. But just, at the end of the day, like I just said, to keep working in order to generate an extra $300 or $400 a month, 6 years down the road, I don't see a huge benefit there at all. I just don't, especially if you have a pension kicking in, or if you have another source of income. I just don't see it beneficial to you to do that. So I hope this helps. As always, I know there's a lot going on there. I get that, but maybe it sparked some imagination in your brain to kind of think about the Social Security thing. Do look at your statement. I cannot stress that enough. You have to look at your statement so you can see what it looks like. Now, as you can see, they did not index my earnings on my record. They won't on yours either, where you got to go onto the statement from Social Security, the website, and use this right here, which gives you the inflator that they have, and then just times that by what you currently have. And I just do a quick spreadsheet just like this. If I were you, I'd absolutely do this. Kind of start playing the numbers without question. All right, so if you like what you see here, subscribe. Thumbs up always help. Comments help enormously. I've come to realize with YouTube, the more comments, the more YouTube says, hey, share this video with other people. So please put a comment down below. If you like the stuff, share it, please. Sharing on YouTube actually, or even on Facebook or email helps a lot too. So do that as well. Then subscribe. Oh, and then go to the blog at heritagewealthplanning.com. You can see you'll get a pop-up for my book. You can get it for free on a PDF form. You'll see a pop-up. You'll get it. And then if you go to Amazon.com, you get both my books. You can get them for $4.49 on Kindle. And if they're not worth $4.49 in terms of saving you money, I'd be shocked. But hey, I'm not here to guarantee anything. It'd be completely up to you. See you next time. Thanks, guys.